DJ Freestyle, play that jam. You're the man. Day and night, yeah, it's you.
Sister, I am your mind. Within you is a never-ending magnitude of infinite strength, wisdom, and will. You travel my roads through life never knowing your own true reality because my thoughts remain like distant quasars. You abuse me, never letting me say and do as I feel. Our thoughts split from love affairs to choice of friends. We argue like two enemies, yet we are good friends. Now there are moments when we harmonize with each other and become one with nature and reality. But these times are few, when after you have replenished yourself, the fear of the truth sets in. We split and you start to run again. Running through women, men, jobs, people, and life, looking for the answer when I had it all along. But I smile, because I am your mind. I was your mind yesterday, I am your mind today, and I'll be your mind tomorrow. And as our end draws near, we will become closer. But you and I, we will never be one. For I will part from you, and you will part from me. You finding another mind, and I another soul. And we'll travel on and on. By the way, I need more than sex to nourish my equilibrium, but I do need sex. I also need sun, trees, stars, creativity, and love, but you saturate my soul with too much of one and not enough of the other. Therefore I cry. But why do we cry? Because tears cleanse the windows of our minds. I am your mind. All your thoughts inside your mind, wanting to be free. Well, now you've got the chance to let your mind grow and be free. Because the music is just trying to say things to free your mind. And if you let your mind be free, then you can understand mine. There's no need to be afraid of me. I want to be your friend. I'm just trying to give you music from deep, deep, deep within. All of your dreams can become reality. My outreach is full, but you've only been turning me
You're listening to Freestyle on Feferity Radio. What are you saying on a weekday? 6 to 9. And every day, except for Mondays, I speak to people from around the world, from all walks of life. And today is our brother, the founder, British Black Music. Our brother, Kwaku Bonsu. And he's on the line all the way in Ghana, Sunshine Land. He is looking very, very blossom. He's got a lot of melon in there. I'm so jealous. Welcome, sir. Quick, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing fine. Yourself?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Have you got your volume there a little bit high?
Did you want me to bring the volume down? No, you should hear me because I'm on headphones, so there's nothing coming from here.
Okay, beautiful. So how is you and how is your land? How is your people?
Our people are our people. That's Africa, you know. On Sunday, we had a bit of restrictions, and on Sunday, the president adjusted it. Initially, you couldn't have more than 25 people at certain gatherings like funerals.
Yes.
There were no church services, no schools. So at the moment, the changes are that in terms of schools, those that have to, they're the final years, whichever levels they're at, as long as they're at the final years, then they can go back. So it's like, I think, final year in university, final year in college, final year in primary school or middle school, you can go back. I think it's for next week. What else? Yeah, in terms of churches, faith groups, it's been moved from 25 people to 100 people.
Okay.
But no service can last more than 1 hour.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
I think that's, so 1 hour, you know, this is a place where they can stay for 2-3 hours. So, I think it is good to have that 1 hour restriction. But having said that, I was listening to our local radio, very, very local.
Yes.
Just for the area, I mean, not for the whole of Accra. And people were pretty much wanting to plead with the president to extend the time of worship.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. I go to church, but sometimes I think it just goes on and on. And once you get tired and your focus is gone, it's pretty much a waste of time.
Exactly. And you're not allowed to leave.
Well, I mean, you're free to leave if you want to, but maybe etiquette doesn't allow you to leave. But yeah. So I think the 1 hour is good. And I hope some churches will continue that. They are to put into place before they start protocols like hand washing, sanitizing, and all that. So indeed, some of the major churches have decided that they're not opening in June, and they're looking to open in July.
Right. Okay.
But I suspect that the small churches, and I'm sorry, I hope I'm not disparaging them all, but a lot of them are money-making things. I bet they're going to open tomorrow as soon as they can, and maybe just get a bucket, get some bucket of water, and they.
It's about 4, 5. It's about 7 weeks or 8 weeks now, isn't it? They've been closed, so that is they're gonna make the difference when they open.
I know. Money-wise and also noise-wise. I mean, we live next to a so-called church, which is open air. And open air, they're not content to sing to their heart's content in terms of shouting, but they actually use a PA system. Can you believe a PA system in a residential area? So we always complain about noise. Luckily, for the last few months of lockdown, we've not had noise from the PA bars. The PA bars are not open. The beer bars are not open. I think there are some restrictions for restaurants. They cannot open, but they've got to have social distancing. So that means they've got to cut down on the capacity of people that they can have at any one time.
Right. I mean, things are moving more or less the same pace everywhere now, isn't it, around the world? And all the presidents or prime ministers, if you listen to them, it's like they're reading from the same script.
Well, I'm not sure. I have to say that I'm not going to say I'm a fan of our president, but I think he's been quite, what should I say? hardcore. In the sense that often we depend on what people do, particularly in the West, and then we take our cue from them. But here, I mean, when you guys were not on lockdown, we're on lockdown. And I remember before I came to Accra, oh no, it must have been here. No, I think I'm getting confused. But anyway, just before we locked down, there was this radio program. No, I was in London. There was a radio program. And the guy called into, I think, Radio London, or one of the London mainstream stations, and saying he worked for BA. And when you come to Accra, they're so professional. They take your heat, and they knew this corona thing was not a joke. And then he comes to Heathrow, and he just walks through. Nobody asking question. There's no test. And what was telling about that program was that the interviewer was like, yeah. It's like so cool. I don't tend to use the word third world. I want to use it for emphasis. It's like, what do third world people know? We are the first world. So if we're not doing it, that means we don't need to do it. Well, I think we've got less than 50 tests. And how many tests have the UK had?
Yeah. I mean, also, you could look at it from another way as well. That I think here in the West, people are beginning to realize, because of the information and the speed in which the information are coming, and from a very different sources as well, probably the consciousness of what it's supposed to be, the people are beginning to realize. I mean, say in Africa, where you don't have the social media, or people don't have access to it, so I think the fear is more heightened.
I have to pick you up on that. We are right now in the global village. Look, last time I spoke to you, I said there are two worlds, right? The rich and the poor. So we are in the pretty affluent side, and next to us are poor parts. They all have mobile phones. So please do not. In fact, we've got the highest penetration of mobiles in Africa. So don't joke. So everyone has access to a mobile. So they really locked into social media, and they know what's going down. So I don't think you can be saying that, quite frankly. It's my experience of Ghana.
No, you're right, because the other day I saw, and I was speaking about this as well, a drone service. The Ghanaian, they've designed a drone service that delivers goods to people's home, which of course we don't have it here in the UK, neither in America. So that's a very good one.
And I think, I think during the COVID, there was one that was supposed to either take samples or something, but yeah, they are using drone technology here. It's a global world, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Although there's disparities, obviously, but the internet has made the world quite a global one.
Indeed. No, you're right on that. So this is a very important month, isn't it, for the BBM? I've been seeing your newsletters focusing on the reparation. Also, you're organizing the Black British Music History 2020. Tell us about that.
Okay. Since 2006, we've had an annual event called British Black Music Month. Initially it was June, but we found out that June was not enough, or 1 month was not enough. So although we say June is British Black Music Month, in practice it goes into July. This year, before Corona, I decided that we will cut down on the program.
Are you close to your mic? We're hearing a lot of windy breath.
Do you want me? It could be the fan.
Oh, right. Yeah, we can hear the rattling as well.
But, did you want me to get closer? Yes. Did you want me to get closer to the mic, or is that what you're saying? Or
no, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
Then?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Right. So we're talking about British Black Music Month. I said we started in 2006.
Is it sorry, Sir Kwaku. Is it a fan you've got on?
Yeah. Yes.
I really appreciate it. It's really hot out there. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
No problem.
That is fine now. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So yeah, as I said, we did start 2006, and this year, before Corona had kicked in, I decided to cut down on the events. So the idea is that if people want to run with it, they can. So we just got a couple of events. Fun enough, I've decided to do one, and so I can add that. So yeah, the whole part about British Black Music Month is an opportunity to highlight British Black music. Also to create networking forums, because sometimes we're into the music, but we don't get to meet. So we used to have a lot of offline activities where people can meet, network. And thirdly is to improve music contacts and music education or music knowledge. I used to be a lecturer in mainstream organizations. I've taught from grassroots level to postgraduate courses and stuff like that in terms of music business. So I always felt it's important that people should understand the industry side, because people can do the music. Hey, young people, 12, they've got a computer, they can create music, but do they understand how to monetize it? What are your rights? So I always make sure that a music business course is part of our British Black music. The other aspect is also copyright, because the whole industry is underpinned by copyright. So we always have a copyright seminar as well. So that is the emphasis in terms of our British Black music. Also, we get DJs to play special British focus sets. So, for example, you could say, I'm going to play this for this week or this particular day, just pure British Black music, and that'll be part of the offer for British Black Music Month. So that's what that's about. In recent times, I think since 2017, I've also taken to what should I say, coordinate in something called International Reggae Day. So I take care of the UK. Unfortunately, thus far, it's been quite London focused. This year, we're hoping to make some strides into the regions. It hasn't quite worked out, but since we're going on Zoom, that means you don't have to be in London to consume it. So International Reggae Day is always 1st July. This year, last year was quite great. We did over 2 days, but this year we start sticking to the day, which is 1st July on a Wednesday. And at the moment, our window is 6 to 9. It might go to 6 to 10 because we're hoping to have a bit of a disco celebration, have a few DJs playing reggae music, themed reggae music, and also end the evening by playing tracks by Dennis Brown, because Dennis Brown died on 1st July, and International Reggae Day is 1st July. So I thought we'll honor his memory.
Also, there's a connection there with Marcus Garvey as well.
Yes, in terms of International Reggae Day, what happens is that the International Reggae Day is an initiative from Jamaica. They've been going for over 25 years. So when we picked it up in 2007, we did a low-key thing, but since 2018, we have a UK theme as well. So the international theme is from jam rock to hip-hop, showing the influence of Jamaican music on hip-hop. But also the UK theme is the influence of Marcus Garvey on reggae music. And indeed, as you can see from the banner behind me, on the left, or my left, is British Black Music African History Revisited. So I do a lot of African history programs. And on the right is British Black Music. So obviously there's music. So in terms of the history programs that I do, we are looking at Marcus Garvey stroke UNIA stroke African Communities League 80-100. The 80 stands for the 80th anniversary since Marcus Garvey died in London, UK. And the 100 stands for the 100th anniversary of the first international convention of the UNIA. That was, 1920 in New York.
It's a very...
so that's where the Marcus Garvey thing comes from. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. No, you're doing an absolutely great work. Your focus actually says it's about Black British music. Now that you're in Ghana, I mean, when it comes to music rights, copyright, plagiarism, is affecting a lot of Black Africans around the world. I mean, now that you're in Ghana, are you stretching your arms to help out young musicians and artists in Ghana with the work you're doing here in the UK?
That is a good question, and the straight answer is that no. when we started, I used to do programs in Ghana. I would come and do a program with the Copyright Office. So I did quite a number of music industry and copyright sessions in Ghana. But for the last few years, I just come as a private citizen, stay in my house. I seldom interact. I seldom go out to the house. And often I have work because the nature of the world is that I can work from wherever I am. It's like a working day for me. So even though I'm not in London, I'm still doing the programs that we plan doing, because online allows us to. We're on Zoom today, and we can do a lot of the programs on Zoom. So the short answer is that I ought to be engaging, but I haven't thus far. But having said that, I have to say that the knowledge is improving. There are some savvy managers, because they are more and more engaging with the West. So there are some savvy managers. But even in Britain, there are people who are not knowledgeable about the industry. I was just speaking to someone, I think 2 days ago, and he was saying that, for example, reggae artists, some of them are still in the 20th century. All they want to do is cut a track, go and do some vinyl, and that's about it. They're not members of PRS. They don't even know what PRS stands for. So the knowledge, what should I say, or lack of knowledge can happen anywhere, whether in Africa or the Caribbean or the US.
And thank you for making that point. Is that the reason that we see a lot of Black British musicians, after a very longevity in the music business, producing top charts, number ones, and end up having nothing at the end of the day to show for it?
That is partly so, yes. I read a lot, so I'm not quite sure who I read or heard, but there was a band that did quite well, and at the end of the day, they had nothing. And what happened back in the day, people were quite desperate to sign to the majors, because that was it. You're on phonogram, EMI, that was it. Fantastic. They got the money for the marketing spend, but often per unit, you didn't make much compared to if you went the indie route. So a lot of people today are going the indie route. That means do it for self or do it yourself. And so per unit, they may not sell a lot of units, but per unit they make a lot of money. So let me give you an idea. Let's say you had a CD. An artist could make, let's say, 50 pence from the CD, right? And sell maybe 100,000. An indie artist would sell probably 20,000 if they've got some named, but they may make as much as £5, £6 per unit. So although they don't sell enough units, they end up well ahead financially than those signed to the majors. But having said that, horses for courses, I'm not decrying majors, because they have a purpose. If you want to be a big artist or a pop artist, there's no way. Well, I don't say no way. It's much harder to do that as a self sign or a small indie label sign artist. So that's where the majors come, because it's about money, it's about connections, it's about clout. And then EMI and Universal is more likely to make you a star. I've said that money is not everything. How many artists do we know where they've pumped in a lot of money and still didn't happen?
Yeah, and the balance is because some of them, they've done so great and end up looking for 9 to 5. That is very sad. It doesn't happen to other musicians.
It's just a real shame. Well, it does, to be honest, maybe because we're in our own silos of black music, we don't think it happens to other musicians. But it does happen to some musicians, but it works in two ways. Sometimes they don't make as much as they should make, but they're still well ahead in the game than us. Let's say an artist, right, who's come out with 1 million, but they should have done maybe 10 million. But 1 million is well ahead of us, in terms of who is scrambling to make 5,000 here, 10,000 there. But Europeans also get shafted.
Yeah. This is, as I said in the beginning, is a very busy month for the BBM. And you're organizing also the African history and reparation across London. Tell us about that.
Okay, right. You brought in reparations, and I think people have got their fiefdom. So I wouldn't want to mention reparations in terms of what I do. The organizations do reparations much, so we do support. My focus is very much coming from history.
Right.
And even though, for example, our program has got Marcus Garvey's name in there, again, because people like their fiefdoms, we don't claim to be a Garveyite organization. We do support the ethos of Marcus Garvey, but I don't even, and we do Pan-Africanist stuff, but I don't even want to call myself a Pan-Africanist because there's a notion or stereotypical notion for a Pan-Africanist or Pan-Africanist is, and there are some organizations who like to see Pan-Africanism as their fiefdom. So I'm very mindful of what I do. So I come from the perspective of history. I do it two ways. Either African British history, only because we tend to know a lot about elsewhere. What happened in America? What happened in the Caribbean? Not too much what happened in Africa. But seldom do we know what happened in Britain. So I tend to focus on African British history. When you look at the history curriculum, those that bring in the African aspects, the mandatory ones, are American civil rights. So even in the our mainstream curriculum, African British history is like a subsidiary, and it's for the teacher to do to touch upon if they want to. So I do a lot of African British history programs. For example, on Sunday, I did something which was looking at the representations of Africa and Africans in London, and I had a whole lot of people, not in numbers, but quite a wide range, from elders, people who've been in the struggle for a long time, activists, politicians, to young mums and whatnot. And a lot of it was a revelation to them. They live in London, but they didn't have any ideas of these things that are in plain sight. So yeah, so my focus is on African history. So this year we're doing Marcus Garvey, UNI, ACL, UNI, ACL, 1800. I've explained that. So on June 10th, which I think is next week, I'm not quite sure, I think it's Wednesday. Yeah, it must be Wednesday. 10th June was the date on which Marcus Garvey died in London, 1940. So we want to mark that.
Right.
But the program is not going to be focused exclusively on Marcus Garvey. We're using the program to commemorate Marcus Garvey's passing, and also to let people know that there's a national icon in Jamaica, an international Pan-African icon. He had quite a close connection to the UK. For example, he lived his last 5 years in the UK from 1935 to 1940. But what I'm more keen about is how we represent ourselves, the language that we use. So another part of me is about identity politics.
Right.
So I've got a campaign called the African or Black Question. I started that in 2011. Few people would have heard of this UN initiative called International Year for People of African Descent. It was supposed to highlight African issues. And I think about August, I started doing vox pops. I'll just meet people randomly and I ask them two questions. Are you an African, or are you Black or African? The second question was that, are you aware of the UN initiative of International Year for People of African Descent? And 9 out of 10, if not 9.5 out of 10, had not heard of the initiative.
No.
So consequently, we decided to use the acronym as our campaign organization, TAOBQ, the African or Black Question. And so I use it to do some of our identity things, and that is what we'll be spending June 10th focusing on. What do we call ourselves? We're not going to have that discussion because we've had it already. We're just underscoring that people of African heritage should be called Africans, not Black. When we talk about racism, if it's specific to Africans, we should not say racism. We should call it by its name, Afrophobia, and spell it with an I, because some of the institutions like the UN spell it with an O. Afro should do it with a hairstyle. Afri links us to the continent.
Yeah.
So we spell it with an I. So it's about language. It's about even how we represent ourselves visually. If we want to talk about the LGBT community, I don't even have to say anything. If you see an image, you know what we're talking about. We need that image. Unfortunately, we've got two Pan-African flags, and what we've done is to unify the four common colors into something that we call the global quad flag. That means it's the 4 colors. But again, let me tell you that we're on a journey. In 2014, we marked the 100th anniversary of the founding of the UNI, that's Marcus Garvey's organization, at the Ghana High Commission in London. And what we did was that, where did that come? Anyway, okay, I'm going to, but since I'm talking about 2014, oh yes, right. So what came out of 2014 was the global quad flag. We said this flag is to represent African issues. So that even if you don't see any lettering, you don't see any text, but you see the colors, you know that this must be something to do for an African issue. But what I want to say was this. Initially, there were 4 colors. But when I went to community and I was doing programs and saying, look, this is what we come up with. Some of our diasporan brothers and sisters were very uncomfortable linking themselves just to Africa. So they said, I'm from the Caribbean. Typically, I'm from the Caribbean. So as a compromise, I decided to have 2 black bands. So we have red, black, yellow, black, and green.
Right.
The original was red, yellow, black, and green. 4 colors. Those were the 4 common colors from the UNI colors and the Ethiopian or Rasta colors. But I think it's not on. So what we're doing is that on 10th June, we're going to use it as a bit of a summit to have a conclusion. It could be that they may say we should use both colors, or they may opt for the 4 colors. But I have to put my hand in the to be honest and say, I do hope that it will be the 4 colors or a compromise. Have use the 2, but I don't think the 5. Using 2 blacks helps us because we really must take the bull by the horns to either identify with Africa or not. We're all on different levels, so I'm not against people who are not where we are at. But we can't, for their sake, say we're holding on till they reach our level because it ain't going to happen. People will always be at different levels. I'll give you an example. Although it's a bit of a shame because in these recent times, we hear a lot from America, the African-American experience, except that everybody is talking about black. Everybody is talking about black. But years gone by, I think the 1980s, the Americans did not have a conference to decide should we call ourselves African Americans. Jesse Jackson went for African American. The media picked it up, and lo and behold, it became an official terminology in describing people of African heritage who are from the US. You see what I'm saying? So some of these things, you just have to take the bull by the horn and not say you're waiting for a consensus, because that probably will never happen.
I mean, do you think?
Lastly,
sorry, go on.
Okay, go on.
No, say it lastly.
So that was June 10th. So that I just saw the event we have on June 10th online, but we had planned a major event for August 15th. That's 2 days before the August 17th, which is the anniversary of the birthday of Marcus Garvey. The point being that a lot of Pan-Africanist Garveyite organizations celebrate Marcus Garvey's birthday. So there's always going to be a clash of events. So 2 years ago, someone was talking about this clash. So I said, why don't we come together and do something commonly?
Right.
So I suggested something called the African Coalition. So we are all working on one project. This year, we decided that it will be 2 days before the Saturday. So 2 days before the 17th. So you can come together, network, and use it to promote your own August 17th events. We had a meeting in London in March. There was a great enthusiasm, but then it sort of dried up. I was not prepared to do everything by myself because it says coalition. That presupposes that it's more than one person doing it. So I said to myself, if people are not coming back to do this, then I don't need to. So we've got the August the 15th there, and hopefully people will realize that we need to do something, and then they'll come on board. But if not, then I'm not really killing myself.
So what?
And I'll tell you lastly. Go on. No, go on. Please ask the question.
No, I was going to ask you.
No, go on.
Why do you think the hesitation to come together it's so prominent among us?
Right. Well, I can only speak specifically to this event because I am a conscious person in the sense that I can say no. So when I say yes and I take on responsibility, I do deliver. So in terms of this project, I'm rather surprised because there was great enthusiasm in the room. And I said, it's about people doing things. So I don't want people to come and suggest things. It's about this is the chunk of work that I'm going to run with. So we know that your organization is doing this. It was all pretty much agreed in principle. I sent the minutes. And then there's hardly any comeback. So I said, I can do it, but why should I do it? This was meant to be a big thing and a collective thing in which we had stalls, we had films, we had discussions, keynotes, performances, a play. It was supposed to be quite a big thing. I booked a venue in Westminster. So we're going to do something as the African Community Collective. I don't know why it's fallen by the wayside for now. People could say COVID, but since no one responded and said, oh, because of COVID, I'm not going to take that as an excuse. But then to answer your question in the broader sense, I've been around the organization and found out that in a room full of 30 people, yeah, we're going to do it. The hands on deck starting off might be 20. And before long, it ends up being a pair of hands doing the job. That happens in I won't say every, but a lot of organizations have been in. And that also includes mixed organizations. That means not just Africans, but working with other communities. It's about energies. And some people got a lot of enthusiasm, but not enthusiasm to do the actual work.
This is one of the biggest problem, I think, in the diaspora. Because I picked on what you said earlier on when I asked you about the African and reparation across London, and you mentioned there that you are free, and that's the concept of a lot of African born or African from the continent. Do you think that we live in a two different identity in especially say England?
I need to understand the question so I can answer as best as I can, because you started with reparations, then you said African born. So I wasn't quite sure of the question. So if you want to rephrase it, then I can respond directly.
Yeah. What I'm saying is Africans in the continent don't have the notion, like you mentioned certain words that we use. We need to change the phrasing of certain words. Like, you know, here you will hear a lot of Black British will say that they are slaves. And the people, I mean, from the continent don't believe in that. You know, I've never had an African from the continent say they are slaves. And because of of that dispute, do you think that we're living a very multiple identity here in the UK as African people as a whole?
Yes, no. I mean, we live, what should I say, on multiple identities across a whole range of things. But let me try and answer your question right. In Ghana, what irks me is that they talk black. They say someone is black, and then I say African, and it doesn't sink in. But I understand, because in our language, or my language certainly, we describe the word we used to describe ourselves as black. So I guess it's easy for them to say black. But I'm trying to inculcate in them the notion that we are Africans. Then you come to England, people talk about black. Some of it comes from the political, in the sense that, so there are two things. People describing themselves black in the same way that we used to be called Negroes or colored. There are some who describe themselves black in the sense of the political black, i.e. sort of in solidarity with other non-Europeans. Now, talking about identities, I mean, if someone is born in England and their antecedents are in the Caribbean, they've got at least identities. And that is why you can see the language. A person can talk the standard English, and they can switch and start speaking patois. That is them. The person in the Caribbean has got, in a way, maybe I'll say a single identity when it comes to language, because they just speak patois. Actually, I'm wrong, because obviously in Jamaica there's also standard English. The standard English. Though there's some people who do not work on standard English, they just speak patois. Having said that, I was just listening to one of our community guys, and I don't think he's ever spoken standard English. He always speaks patois, and he was on on the video being interviewed, pure patois, as if he just come from Jamaica.
Yeah.
So we're on different levels, and then add to it people who say they are British. So since I'm talking to you, we have the instance of someone born in England. They can never claim English, because I do not think that any person of this skin can be English. You can be British, and that passport says British. But I find it laughable for people like me to claim that they're English. That ain't going to happen. Why should that happen? It's just the same like someone born in Accra who says that he's a Ghana. Or people of that descent in South Africa. They are South Africans. Their nationality is South African, but their heritage is European. So coming to what I was trying to deal with, we have someone born in England, so he's British, but his parents come from Nigeria, so it's also Nigerian. Whether or not he's been to Nigeria or not, he's Nigerian. And if their parents schooled him well or her well, that person should be able to talk one of their native languages, which is Yoruba, Igbo, or whatnot. I tell you something.
Yeah.
You not expect, because of my language, and my daughter speaks her language. I find it so sad to see some Africans who are so proud to say that their children do not speak their language. Wow. No, he only speaks English. And then one of the excuses they use that, if they speak their language and English, it'll confuse them, and maybe they'll have a detriment on the English. That's sad. Yeah. The brain has got a capacity to do more than we can even imagine.
Well, we see that also, with the Asian community. We have all had our Asian shopkeepers in our local area, and for 20, 30 years, their accent remains the same. The Chinese, people go there to buy their food. They've been there for 40 odd years. Their accent remains the same. And so for other people. So I think we, as African people or black people, do have that sort of trait where we can just sort of switch as to how we want it. Is that a skill, or is that a cultural misunderstanding?
No, I don't say misunderstanding. I'd rather say it's just a skill, because people are mindful. Because I can imagine my Jamaican friend talking to his friend, and he'll be patois, and Kwaku comes in, and then you switch and speak standard English to me. So I think that is a skill. They are mindful of the environment in which they are in, and they deal with that accordingly. There are some people who speak straight standard English, that you don't believe that they speak patois until you know them in another setting. Yeah, so that's a skill. And go on.
No, I said let me give you guys some text messages here. If I could just read it. This is from It's from Tariq. Tariq says, the brother spoke with truth. The power of words is very important. You must know the language the system speaks. Any words we have been taught is in education has a very different meaning in the legal world. Judges in particular are trained as wordsmith, African. And he says, say to the brother, we can work in sync, collaborate on many levels between Africulture, a branch of presenting culture and harmony in community, a charitable event management. That's from Tariq.
Okay, thanks, Tariq. I'm quite reachable on the banner on the My Right BM, the acronym British Black Music. So www.bbm.eventbrite. So you can contact me through that, because there's an opportunity to contact the organizer, so that can come to me. Or in terms of the African events and community events, that's www.africanhistoryplus.eventbrite.com. And I'm happy to give my email out, which is bbmbmc@gmail.com. So if you want to contact me, bbmbmc, that stands for British Black Music Congress. So bbmbmc@gmail.com. So yeah, Tariq, make contact and let's see what we can do. But I have to say, I commend you because I think we need to move forward. So I have an issue with Afros. So when you got this Afro-Caribbean, Afro this, we've got to move towards Afri, man. And
Okay.
can I say that we are in the International Decade for People of African Descent. That's a UN initiative. It started in 2015. We're halfway there, and I bet most of your listeners have not heard about this. And I'm not saying it's their fault, because remember that the UN is the UN is made up of member states, so it's for the countries to inform their citizens about UN initiatives. At the start, my organization called BTWSC, we wrote BTWSC, African History Revisited. We wrote to the then Prime Minister Theresa May saying, look, Britain or the United Kingdom is part of the UN. So what are you thinking about this initiative called International Decade for People of African Descent? And they said they have no specific plans of doing anything about it, and that Britain does a lot. We're far ahead in our race relations laws and stuff like that. So it's left to, what should I say, civil societies to run with some of these UN initiatives. So I'm part of an organization called ICPAT Coalition UK. ICPAT, again, means International Decade for People of African Descent. So ICPAT Coalition UK, and they've been trying to sort of let people know what the ICPAT situation is about. They're a small and funded organization, so it is quite difficult. In December, they got a little pot of funding, so they published a document looking at a word which I mentioned earlier called Afrophobia. So they've published a document, Afrophobia. And in fact, today we focus on Minnesota and George Floyd. What happened to him is Afrophobia, not racism. Yeah, racism, but specifically because it's directed specifically as Africans. So that is Afrophobia.
Yeah.
So yeah, International Decade for People of African Descent, as I said, it's a UN initiative. They don't put money in it. It's for either civil society or the governments to run and do programs. But the bottom line is that it's supposed to redress some of the systemic racism that impacts on Africans on a global level, not just a national level. Because it seems like the African, no matter where they are, whether in Asia, look at what's happening in China, whether in India, whether in fact on their own continent of Africa, my dear brothers and sisters, they face Afrophobia. Check what is happening in places like Zambia and places like that. So the ICPAT is supposed to address all those systemic racism and discriminations. But no one seems to be too bothered. And I don't think the African countries themselves are doing much, quite frankly.
I think we need more publicity on that, more knowledge on that, more talks and information on that.
Well, I have done. In fact, in Ghana, I did a couple of ICPAT programs, I think 3 or 4 years ago. So I have done, and other people I'm sure have been doing it. In Europe, there are some stronger community organizations. They tend to access European funding. So they've done a few things. So there are organizations doing things, but you're all right. The publicity is quite poor. We're midway into the decade, and I bet, again, if I should go on the street and do some vox pops and I say, have you heard of ICPAT? Again, 9 to 9.5 out of 10 would not have heard about ICPAT. But my friend, we can only do so much, especially when there's no money in there to really get people to engage with marketing on a serious level.
Yeah. We've got about 7 minutes to go, and I really want to ask you, because you've put together some encouraging contributors to put some playlists of Black British music together. And I did play one earlier on from the Osibisa, one that one of our historian, Paul Gilroy, selected. Tell us about that,
Yes.
the chill out zone on the BBM.
Oh, well, you must, I'm not sure if we have a chill out zone, but before BBM was what it was, I used to do a magazine for someone, and my section, so I'm talking at the beginning of internet, or before internet became so prevalent. So that was the 10th of the century. No, actually, yeah. So it would be 1997, or whatever. So I had something called Chill Out Zone, and I used to review African or British black music records, in particular lives, stuff, and whatever. So I'm not quite sure if you've gone and seen some archive. But since you mentioned Paul Gilroy, what happened was that since we weren't actually doing any physical events to mark British black music in terms of 1st June, I published a newsletter, and what I did was that I published all the playlists that people had done for me in the last few weeks, highlighting British black music. And Paul Gilroy had done a playlist of, I think, 60 or so tracks for a magazine called Wire. It's a jazz magazine. And he gave me permission to take from that playlist. So what I did was I looked at each, the first 5 decades, starting from the 1940s, and picked a track from each. So in fact, that reminds me, it's through me listening. I've been listening to Paul Gilroy's playlist because it's easily accessible. If you go to the Wire, the magazine, you can just play it online. And I've been listening to the tracks over and over again. So it inspired me to do something on June 21st, because June 21st is Making Music Day. That's something I only discovered this year. It's been going since, I think, the 80s, but I only discovered this year. So I put on our BBM newsletter because I want people to support it. Because I think at the moment, the face is very white. The music being done is by Europeans. I don't think a lot of Africans have heard of it, let alone engage in it. So I would love to see all types of music being made on that day as part of making Music Day. So I've decided, even though I don't want to do that many events, I'm going to actually have an online disco just inspired by the playlist. So I'm going to play quite a bit from Paul Gilroy's playlist because it's quite extensive, and play some from the other top 5s, but it will be purely British and eclectic. So it's for people who are open-minded and want to listen to a range of African British music. Music is wide. I mean, you're going to hear that on my session on June 21st. I haven't even put it on the website. Okay, we're looking forward to that. I mean, just a minute about Osibisa, because this year is their 50th, and of course, it's a British band. Tell us about them. Absolutely. About 10 years ago, I did a program as part of British Black Music Month at the BPI. BPI is one of these music industry organizations. And I had Osibisa, so that was Ted Yosei, the manager, their manager, and I think someone from the label. And we used to have something called the Anatomy of a British Black Music Album. So we looked at their first album. And I do remember the album came out, I think, in 1970. I'll tell you something. When I was a student, I used to love Top of the Pops in 1970. They decided to change the format. So each Top of the Pops, which is focused on singles, they'll have an album artist who's just broken through the album charts come and perform. And Osibisa came on Top of the Pops playing music of the Gong Gong. Yeah. What a revelation. Yeah. These guys are called cross rhythms, and they've got jazz, they've got so-called African music, music with Caribbean experiences. Yeah, so we did highlight Osibisa some years ago, and I just forgot. Last British Black Music Month, which was last year, we honored the leader, Ted Yosei. We gave him an award for over 40 years in the industry. Fantastic. So well deserved. And lastly, since I know you're Pan-Africanist, Osibisa is one of the key Pan-Africanist groups. People from the Caribbean, people from Africa, we've never had that before. So they can, I have to say, there were musicians playing together from the different places, but as a band, I think Osibisa was probably the first. Though we've had some jazz combos. Combos are not really bands. They just come together on an ad hoc basis. But Osibisa was the first band that really, and those influences came through. They are, in fact, a very, very good jazz band. People don't because we describe them as world music or African music, we don't realize how great they are as musicians.
That's right.
Composers.
That's right.
I'm not very much into jazz. I'm not very much in jazz, but when I listen to their music, I say, wow, that's fantastic jazz music. Respect to Ted and all the members and the late Spartacus. I knew Spartacus very well. Spartacus was the original bassist, and he died many years ago. So, Sebisa. Oh, let me tell you something. Their first two albums.
Hold on. Hold it there. Hold it there for 2 minutes. We're gonna take a short break here on Feferity Radio. I'm speaking to Kwaku, all the way in Ghana. You're listening to Feferity Radio.
All day.
Kwaku Boutique are proud sponsors of Feferity Radio. Kwaku Boutique inspired by 50s and 60s African fashion nostalgia, yet quintessentially British with a London accent, creating custom-made orders for special occasions. Kwaku Boutique create unique hair and clothing accessories that are quirky, classic and stylish for both men and women. Kwaku is a zero-waste design boutique, sourcing distinctive and colourful textiles from remnants, making most of their items one of a kind. You can find Kwaku Boutique on Instagram and Facebook. For more information, email kwaku@gmail.com or visit the website www.kwaku.boutique.com.
Yeah, I mean, great band. And in Ghana, the broadcasters often from time to time use their music as a sound bed.
Right.
So, they're quite well known here as well.
Yes, indeed. We're going to do this every month because you publish every month, and we want update, and especially what you told us about the UN. Was it a UN?
Decade for people of African descent.
Yes.
UN decade for people of African descent.
We need to look into that more. And so I'll try and look into that to maybe bring it to the attention of our listeners so that we be much more mindful about what is going on, on a bigger scale. But, I want to say thank you very much. Your fun is off, and I know you must be sweating right now. But I really like your top. As always, always seeing you in your African attire. That is, big, massive respect there.
Thank you, and have a good show.
Thank you very much. So,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's our brother there, Brother Kwaku. Very, very humble man. You're listening to Feferity Radio. My name is Freestyle. To another journalist. She has been a radio presenter, and she's still, I think, working in the industry. She has been to a protest. Oh yeah. Why can't I go? Rosemary Laryea. Soon. Your mind. That is the bed in which I speak. To my guest here on Feferity Radio, and today, oh my goodness, she's been at a protest, and I'm sure she's all right, and she's here to tell us all about it. Rosemary Laryea, welcome to Feferity Radio.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Are you all right?
I'm absolutely fine. It was actually, all in all, very peaceful, considering that there were thousands of us. It was just even. I've never seen and been as exhilarated I have been right now. So many people out there. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Tell us about this protest, because, I mean, most of us don't know about this because we don't have the connection to be connected to all these protests and things that have been organized. Where was this organized?
Okay, well, there's a campaign organisation called Black Lives Matter. So it all started off basically not long after, sadly, George Lloyd, passed away. I'm sure your listeners will know that he was killed in broad daylight by a police officer in Minneapolis, and it was the cold-hearted way in which he was killed in broad daylight. This policeman didn't seem to even care that people were looking at him and taking a video of him doing this to our brother. And he had his hands, the policeman had his hands in his own pocket, casually killing this man, sucking the breath out of him. So, of course, when George sadly passed, Black America were angry. And luckily, not only Black people in America, white, different colours, different races were also incensed. And they felt for their Black brothers and sisters. They started marching. I'm so proud to say that even the UK have followed suit as well. And of course, because I'm in the UK, I'm out there as well. Do you know, in fact, it was my daughter who said to me on Sunday, Mum, can you accompany me? I was planning on going anyway. I thought, you know what? Even better. So she just said, Mum, can you accompany me? I want to go to this protest. I said, absolutely. Before I knew it, Freestyle, she went and made a banner. And it simply said, every day and every day before that, Black Lives Matter. And I just thought, amazing. You know what I mean? So I was just so proud that, you know, here I was with this young girl who had such a sense of social injustice. And off we went. We went on Sunday, and I said to her, this is going to get bigger and bigger. Because Sunday was big enough. We were in Trafalgar Square, and we walked from Trafalgar Square, and we went down to the US Embassy. You know, it was just amazing. Again, and really, really bubbling, you know, great vibes. People were there, solidarity, everyone was supporting each other. And I just knew that today was even going to be bigger, and it was. It was amazing.
Where was this held?
Right, so today we all congregated at Hyde Park. So it always starts off at 1 p.m. So Hyde Park, and it was perfect location because, as you know, Hyde Park is huge. So we all congregated there, and obviously, you know, there was lots of information about why we were here. You know, what does this day mean for us? And it was so well organised to the point where they were giving out water if you needed water. If you needed something to eat, they had bananas and sorts of different fruits. They had hand sanitizers because, of course, we're supposed to be in lockdown. But I think for most of us, we're thinking, fine, you know, people have said the pandemic is COVID-19. But for us, for our hurt, this is a different pandemic. This is the pandemic for Black lives that matter. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it was just amazing. And John Boyega was there. I don't know if you had time. I know you've been doing your show, but the actor John Boyega was there.
I would love to.
He gave such an emotional speech, Freestyle.
Wow.
I mean, it was just amazing. He said Black lives have always mattered. And even though we've been crushed, still we rise. And in fact, he at times was breaking down. Because he was just so overwhelmed and just really emotional about, you know, this whole incessant killings of Black people week in, week out. And I think the overwhelming factor also, you know, is palatable because I think, you know, not that I know for sure, now that it's lockdown and we haven't got much to do, we watch a lot on television, because let's face it, look, Black people are being killed senselessly left, right and centre anyway, and we know what happens in America. It happens here as well, and I want to be clear about it, it happens here as well. But of course, the killings over here are morphed by the killings in America because America is so much bigger. Of course, we hear more about those killings in America. So because we're all on lockdown, and we can all our antennae are up, we can see exactly what's going on all around the world. So for this time round, when a killing happened yet again, the whole world was watching. And that is why you've got triples of all these protests all over I mean, even in Europe, in Belgium, in France, in Germany, even Syria are actually on the street shouting about Black Lives Matter and enough is enough. It's just amazing. So I'm really glad that, you know, we're supporting our Black brothers and sisters in America. And I'm sure that they get comfort from that as well. There's a real bubble now. There's a real bubble. I'm really glad to be part of it.
So I'm sure a lot of people must have had a good time. And if I had known about it, I would just go for the sake of having that human bonding again. You know, how was the 2 meters rule administered there? Oh, it wasn't at all.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, of course, you know, we're supposed to be doing the 2 meter rule, but you can't go to a protest and have a 2 meter rule, can you? Do you know what I mean? You can't. And the police were not even trying to enforce it, which is a good thing. You know, I mean, they obviously say to us about 2 meter rules and social distancing, and we've been told that yes, even though the lockdown rules have been slightly lenient, whereby 6 people can now congregate and 2 meters, you know, in between each of the 6 people. Hello, there were thousands of us here, thousands. You can no way stipulate 2 meters. You can't. And we outnumbered the police force 1,000 and 10,000 fold.
Wow. And
they could not stipulate it either. No way can you. You know, people were there. It was just huge. If you just saw, you know, when you're so overwhelmed as well, because I had to just stand back and just watch the crowd just walk peacefully. And we were walking, obviously, traffic is on standby. They can't move. So we walked out of Hyde Park, down Park Lane. Traffic was at a standstill.
Wow. A
lot of people in their vehicles were tooting their horns, giving us a thumbs up in solidarity. It was beautiful, encouraging us, and we were just, oh my gosh, amazing. We walked down Park Lane, walked to Victoria, walked to Parliament, and we were at Parliament Square, and then we walked down past Downing Street, stopped at where Boris lived. You know, a lot of people were giving some kind of expletives, and a lot of people were there for a long time, and then Trafalgar Square. But the crowd just kept coming.
Of course.
All colours, all races, all ages. Families were there as well. I met a young family.
Yeah.
Husband, wife, and 3 of their children. The eldest must have been about 6 years old. 6 years old, the eldest. Wow. They felt that it was important for their children to experience this, and they were also there on Sunday when I was there, but I didn't meet them in Trafalgar Square. They are planning on going to the one this Saturday, and I'll be there again. But they said
this Saturday coming as well.
Oh my goodness, I'll give you the dates of the other one.
Okay.
But they were saying that this Saturday's one, because they can see that it's just growing bigger and bigger and bigger, which it is, they will not bring the children on this Saturday because it'll be too much for them.
Right.
And truly it will be.
Yeah.
This Saturday will be even bigger. It was huge today. Absolutely heaving. And this Saturday will be bigger. And then Sunday, there's another one as well. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Are we allowed to bring our barbecue, boxes and lunch boxes and stuff like that? Are we allowed to bring our little music? Because, as Black people, we can't have a celebration or any kind of thing without music.
Listen, I'm glad to report that people were not using it as a way of just to come and have fun and have barbecues. No, we were all there on a mission. So of course, if you want food, you bring your food. Some people were stopping off and getting some food and drinks at the local shops that were open. Then you just resume again. If you're tired, you sit down and just relax. You're sitting down and you're still chanting whatever you want to chant. No justice, no peace, Black Lives Matter. They were saying, I can't breathe. All these people. So but then there was music as well. But mostly, you're not there to just have a bit of a bop. No, you're there for a huge, for a fantastic cause.
Yeah.
To talk about justice needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. And people are tired of it. And and I think to see like I said, different colours and different races coming together is very, very powerful. Because, you know, really and truly, we are saying that it's a problem that, you know, it pertains to black people. And it's beautiful to see that other races can also see the injustice for black people. And they are out there as well saying, we get it, we see it, and we're with you on this. That's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. I think everything starts with black and ends with black, because I've just got a text here saying that lockdown is over thanks to America.
Wow, yeah, because it seems that way, I tell you. Well, did you hear what happened in Harlesden just the other day? Harlesden, northwest London, they had a street party. Goodness me.
Yes, I saw a clip.
Oh my gosh, 400 people came out strong, partying away. Oh my goodness. But I did say to my cousin who sent me that I didn't feel that I could actually comment because I was out protesting. So if we're talking about social distancing, I can't comment because you can't social distance in a protest. You understand?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because first of all, my cousin said to me, but that's different, Rosemary, you're protesting. I said, but if you're talking about social distancing, then I don't think it is different. I don't. But
I've got a text as well.
Like lockdown is over. Sorry?
A text just came through as well from Leon. It says George Floyd killed the virus.
He really did. He really did. And George Floyd has reminded us of another pandemic that's always been there. It's always been there. But we always thought that we were the only ones who saw it. And we always thought that it was our battle. But George Floyd has made everyone see that it's actually a collective battle and that we can all actually bring it on its head, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. And I'm looking forward to the weekend as well. And I think, like you said, it's going to grow and grow and grow. And it seems to me that one thing I'm really happy about, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it seems to me the fear of the virus has slowly eradicated from the people's mind. Yeah,
absolutely. So, you know, we were all told that when we arrive, we have to have our disposable gloves, and we have to have masks as well, just to appease, you know, the whole law that's out now because of, you know, social distancing things. And people were there. I mean, look, I brought a mask, but I certainly did not wear a mask, and I had my gloves, but I did not wear my gloves either. My mind is not on the virus, and even that. Listen, that's another story. This whole virus thing is all a bit contentious anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that there's something very strange going on about this coronavirus thing. I really, really do. But people are not there thinking about the virus, and there's no fear there. It's just a lot of anger and hurt and pain and just real comfort that so many people are on the same page. It's just beautiful. And I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen Clara Amfo's. Did you hear her audio?
No, not yet.
Right. So Clara, who I'm sure you know, is a presenter on another radio station, but
that's all right. You can say
Radio One, right? Okay. So she didn't go to work on Monday because she was absolutely distraught with what happened with George Floyd.
Yeah.
And then she told her listeners very, very frankly. And first of all, she warned them and said, look, you know, if you've got children who are in the vicinity, can you please, you know, keep them busy and move the radio away, because I'm going to talk real talk here. I'm going to talk about race. And then she said, but I would love for you to stay with me on this. And then she actually said, I couldn't come in yesterday. I was so distraught. I watched this guy die like an animal. And she said she started crying. And she was so distraught, she couldn't physically go into work so that she can ask her listeners, did you have a nice weekend? She said, because she couldn't do that and mean it, because she had a terrible weekend because of seeing that. And then she started talking about, you know, how people want our culture, but they don't want us. They want our music, but they don't want us. They want, you know what I mean? There's so many things that they want of us, but they don't want us. And she broke down on air. Then she obviously, you know, got herself back together again and started talking about how it really affected her and how, you know, on that radio station, they talk a lot about mental health. And she said her mental health was not in a good place. It was not in a good place. And she just felt the need to air it. And I just had to salute her. I just had to salute her, because it can't be easy being in an environment where you're the only person of colour during the daytime schedule. Do you know what I mean? And you're holding a real opportunity there.
Yeah.
And I can bet as well there aren't a lot of people of colour in that production facility either. So already, you know, you will feel the left, you know, odd one or left out in some way. In some way. And you, as a person in the minority, you will always do things differently than your white counterparts. You always do. You always do. Like, you know, Freestyle, that I'm a producer, and I'm a producer for two mainstream places, one radio and one television, right? I'm the only person of colour there, only black producer. And I read the same newspapers as my white counterparts, right? But I see things that my white counterparts don't see. And sometimes it gets to the stage where I have to validate why I want to cover a particular story. It gets tiring. It gets really, really tiring. It's the same newspaper that they're reading, but they don't see what I see. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So after a while, you learn to live like this. But then for people to come out and say, listen, we understand your pain, we understand what you might be going through, we can empathise with you, that is just so refreshing. It just lifts a big dark cloud, you know, over you. It really does. So it's freeing, absolutely freeing.
You know, you've made a really, good point there. This thing with the Black Lives Matter, very good initiative, but also it has actually caused a lot of disagreement amongst and between black community as a whole.
Yeah.
Right, because they look at. I've got a text here actually. Let me read it for you and see if you could, if you could answer it or touch on that. It's from Leon. It says, "Why are black people not more upset than white billionaires are hijacking legitimate black anger to cause mayhem and taking advantage of poor people in order to pay people to instigate civil war?"
Sorry, can you tell that again, please? Or maybe just synopsize it, because that was too long for me. I couldn't follow it.
Oh, right. It was a question. It says, why are black people not more upset that white billionaires are hijacking legitimate black anger to cause mayhem?
Why aren't they upset that white millionaires are doing what?
White millionaires are hijacking legitimate black anger to cause mayhem and taking advantage of poor people in order to pay people to instigate civil war. I think is more focused on what is going on in America right now.
But to me, what happens in America happens here as well, but we're just on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
You have to give me an example, really, because I'm not following.
Well,
unless you follow, you can give me a direct example. I
think they've identified. I don't know. George Soros got to do with this organization, Black Lives Matter.
I don't know. I don't know who has got to do. I don't know who is behind it at all. All I know is just that it's just an organisation called Black Lives Matter. That's all I know. I don't know who's behind it.
Well, if it's to bring thousands of people off their home, because I'm sure people have been sitting at home, not able to exercise quite fully good enough. And if this could bring people together, bring people out, and create that social community, social bonding, human bonding again, I think it's something that majority of people will be looking forward to on, you said Saturday, right?
This Saturday, the meeting again. They always start at 1 o'clock.
In the afternoon?
It's always 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This Saturday, it's starting at Parliament Square at 1 o'clock. But, it's funny because I don't look at it as a social gathering. But, yes, as human beings, we are here and we thrive on each other. And, obviously people are missing the social interaction. But it's for me, it's actually beyond that. When this whole lockdown started, I really welcomed the slowdown and the slow pace of life, because I thought that life was far too crazy and people didn't have time to breathe, people didn't have time to eat, people didn't have time to really talk and really be engaged with one another. So I was really happy for the slowdown. Then after 8 weeks, I thought, you know what, I'm really missing social interaction. Big time social interaction.
Yep.
But I didn't go on these marches because of social interactions. I mean, I don't know people on these marches, you know what I mean? I'm on this march for a cause.
Yeah.
I have friends and family I can socially interact with and do the 6 people, you know, maximum with. This was beyond social interaction. Of course, you are interacting socially because there's so many of you there. But that is not why we gather. You know, we gather for a greater cause. We gather for the injustice that's going on, not just in US. Obviously, that was the catalyst, but also, you know, John Boyega quite rightly said, even Stephen Lawrence. And then, you know, and as we're walking by, we're also chanting about that lady who was working for TFL, Bella Mujinga, remember? Who, you know, she apparently people, or eyewitnesses said that she was spat on by someone who had COVID. And now the evidence, well, so-called evidence, you know, have come back and said that no way, she didn't catch COVID from someone who spat at her. People are going incensed by it. So all of these, you know, people who are just angry and just tired and exhausted.
Well, even
all the pain that they've been carrying, that's all coming out.
Exactly. I mean, even on the BBC website about 4 weeks ago, they put the statistics that African and ethnic minority are the victim, the carriers of the COVID. And the responses and the comment that was coming, you know, is unbelievable. You know, people are talking about the Africans should go home. They're dirty and they don't wash their hands. They're not following rules. I mean, it is very, very, very bad from the BBC.
Disgraceful.
You know.
Absolutely disgraceful. But, you know, it's good that you touched on that, because I want to touch on, you know, we talk about disproportionate number of black people, people of colour who are actually dying, you know, not only in the US, but also over here. Because a lot of us as a race, a lot of us didn't realise that we don't absorb vitamin D as much as our white counterparts. And that is a fact. So the darker we are, the harder it is for us to absorb vitamin D. And vitamin D is crucial for our immune system. So not only is it good for bones, that most people might know that it's good for your bones, it's also crucial for your immune system. So if our people don't know that as a race, of course they're going to be more vulnerable. And if you don't have a low immune system because you have low vitamin D, you're going to be more vulnerable to a lot of illnesses, a lot of ailments. So that's why we see the cycles of, oh gosh, you know, look at these black people suddenly got COVID. These black people suddenly got COVID. Why is it? So that's one of the reasons for sure, the low vitamin D as a race. I luckily found out about this about 2 years ago. My son had to take vitamin D for some bone problem that he had. And I wanted to research more about vitamin D, and I realised it was good for the immune system. So because he was encouraged to take it because of his bone alignment issues, I was taking it to encourage him to take it, not realising that I was actually boosting up my immune system, right? So you have that to look at, you know, vitamin D levels in us as a race. But then also, if you look at the type of work that a lot of black people do as well, not only over in here, but over in America, we are the frontliners, you know, so not only in the NHS, you see in TFL as well, don't you? You know, you see even you see the sweepers in the parks, on the roads, you see the sweepers or the cleaners in the hospitals, you see the bus drivers, you see the train drivers, all of these things. So that's always more vulnerable, much more vulnerable. And so when people should, you know, look at that, then you can understand why it is that there are more people of colour who are actually dying from it, because they're more exposed to the elements. You understand?
Yeah. I mean, also, I think, is it Marimba Ani or Joel Pokrom? She advises that we should be going home and take some rest as often as we can for the same reason.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we can take vitamin D. You can't overdose on vitamin D. A consultant told me that years ago. You can't, you know, at the end of the day, if you're living in this country where you don't have a lot of sunlight, which we don't in this country, take vitamin D on a regular basis, on a daily basis. Not a problem. Good for you. You're building up your immune system.
But we have also one of the most fantastic and amazing palates, cuisine, that we eat all sorts of vegetables. So again, that could, there's a supplement there, isn't it, to supplement that. And, to hear that we're lacking vitamin A, which is true, but we have a great menu that, all sorts of food that really generates a lot of minerals.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I think it depends on where you come from. Because I'm from Ghana, and I've often complained that when I was growing up, I didn't see any vegetables. I didn't. I had okra, I had this thing which looks a bit like spinach.
Okay.
I had gardened eggs, but not a lot of vegetables. And my other complaint was I felt that the food was overcooked. Now, I love Ghanaian dishes, and I certainly don't overcook a lot of my food because I want to have as much of those minerals as possible. Yeah. But so it really depends on where you come from. But so over the years, I don't eat meat anymore, and then once I became a vegetarian, and that is when I found out about different vegetables and different sources of nutrients in it. But we can all do with educating ourselves in what food substance actually gives us the right minerals and the vitamins that we need for our good health.
Well, it's been a healthy conversation here, and you sound very, very happy.
I'm buzzing.
You're convicted. You're so much confidently. You are more than happy about what you've done today, because in your heart, you've done the right thing, and I'm sure many people who are there for the right reasons. And are you looking forward to Saturday and Sunday?
Absolutely. So let me just tell your listeners where it is then. So Saturday again, it's meeting at Parliament Square. So that's Saturday, 6th of June from 1 p.m. And then Sunday, the meeting point is at the U.S. Embassy. Right. And that's Sunday, the 7th of June. So Sunday starts at 2 o'clock and Saturday's one starts at 1 o'clock.
Hopefully all goes, well and peaceful. Would you want to come back maybe Sunday and give us a bit of update on what took place?
Why not? I could do. Yeah, I'm hoping all goes well and peaceful because, I was doing an on about today's one because, I can see all the rioting and the looting going on in America. I was thinking, oh gosh, could it be a matter of time that might trickle over here? Because typically, this country follows America. And I did say to my daughter, who wanted to go today, I said to her, well, we'll see. Because I really want to see how the environment over here is bubbling. Because if it's looting and rioting beforehand, no, we're not going to go because I don't want to get caught up in that. So, and I'm glad to report that that did not happen today, which is brilliant. And I'm hoping the same will not happen this Saturday as well. Because like I said, there'll be more people coming out this Saturday. It's just getting bigger and bigger. It's amazing.
Well, you're giving voice, to a lot of people now, and also the information. So I'm sure, like you said, there's going to be more people involved this weekend. But we hope that all goes well, and let the end justify the day. What we're trying to achieve in terms of we're here. Black people are. That's the thing. We've been here in this country. We made this country, but yet still, our history is not being so proudly discussed. Apart from the tragedies that we're experiencing, and that makes me sometimes really frustrated.
Yeah, exactly, and that has to stop. It really has to stop. And I'm glad to say that Boris Johnson was forced to actually confront the situation today, because Keir Starmer actually confronted him and said to him in Prime Minister's Question Time today, is he going to say anything about what's going on in America and how it's affected over here, because it's disgraceful. And of course, he had to say that, and Keir Starmer actually said to him that will he be telling President Trump that he's appalled by what went on in America? And Boris said yes, he will. And obviously people were annoyed that Boris is only speaking now only because he's been confronted about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
he's always late.
So we're watching him as well, because even when we were marching today, we were saying as well, the UK is not innocent either. You know what I mean? We're here, standing up, talking, looking to America, but the UK is not innocent either. So we're watching Boris to see what he's going to be doing.
In fact, we're so conditioned as black people. we don't even want to talk about our great powers and our great history in this country. So, you know, that's one thing that we need to be uplifting each and every time.
Absolutely.
And bring forth our history. And not just like, you know, I'm tired of the slavery history, 1948. I'm so tired of it because it goes way before that. And
it's true.
I always say, I mean, the BBC has to take responsibility because the BBC has a lot of footage of us even before the Roman times in this country. Why are they not showing it? Why are they always showing it?
They don't show it. It's all an archive.
Yeah, you know, why are they showing all like the black musicians who were struggling back then, I mean, for social justice and showing, you know, all these things? Why are they not showing this beautiful history about our ancestors who've worked so hard to build this country? But I think it's our responsibility to be able to be, I mean, to vocalize that and make that known each time. Let it be our song as well. Like, you know, as much as Black Lives Matter, Black history or Black British history matters. But thank you very much, Rosemary Laryea, and I look forward to speak to you on Sunday. Hopefully everything will go very, very well. I mean, and peaceful, and you'll be able to tell us and, I mean, give us an update on that.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you now. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. That's Rosemary Laryea. They're giving us an update of the Black Lives Matter organized march that took place today, that has been happening over the weekend as well. And there's more to come Saturday, Sunday here in London. And I'm sure a lot of people was like, well, I might go and check out. It's a good day out for me. Well, you're listening to Freestyle here on Feferity Radio. I want to say welcome on board. You're listening to What Are You Saying? It's a weekday, except for Mondays, 6 to 9. I speak to different people from around the world, from all different walks of life. And I had a conversation with Kwaku. He is a founder of Black British Music. We just had a conversation, and the show will be uploaded on our Mixcloud podcast, that's Feferity Radio, and also will be on our YouTube channel, Feferity London. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And let me give you also an information about the coming show, what's happening here on Saturday. I've been saying it for a while. Vinyl Saturday is happening this coming Saturday, 6 to 9. And I'm going live on Mixcloud because we can play all sorts of music, no problem at all. So I'm gonna be introducing you to my collection of eclectic vinyl, 7 inches, albums, LPs, whatever, right? From all types of genre. All right. So that's from 6 to 9 live Mixcloud Feferity Radio. All right. Well, let's continue with some great music here from Roy Ez. Funk in the Hole.